Welcome to Grandma's Last Goodbye, a sacred crucible where the silenced unleash their thunder, the overlooked rise like phoenixes from smoldering ashes, and the forgotten etch their legacies into the eternal vault of the stars. This is no mere channel. It's a rebellion of the soul, a sanctuary for those who've poured their hearts into dreams only to be cast into the abyss, yet found the fire to blaze brighter than 1,000 suns. If you've ever been erased, your love trampled, your presence dismissed like a whisper swallowed by a hurricane, hear this. You are not alone, and your story is a war cry that will rend the heavens. Tonight, we unveil a saga so raw it sears the heart, so radiant it heals the soul. The Odyssey of Marilyn, a grandmother from California who faced betrayal's icy guillotine and forged a legacy of love from its molten core, a testament to the unbreakable spirit of those who refuse to fade. This is Grandma's Last Goodbye, and I'm here to proclaim that your worth is not a footnote. It's a constellation, burning fierce for all who dare to see. So pull up a chair, let your spirit unfurl like a banner in the wind, and join us on this journey of heartbreak, defiance, and triumph. Like, share, and subscribe to Grandma's Last Goodbye to stand with our tribe of truth-tellers who know that when a grandma speaks, the stars themselves bow to listen, and the earth trembles with her truth. The clock struck 11:02 p.m., and the world seemed to freeze in Marilyn's modest California kitchen, a tomb of shattered dreams suffocating under the weight of betrayal. She sat at her weathered oak table, her reading glasses trembling on the bridge of her nose, the refrigerator's mournful hum a requiem for her broken hopes. Her hands, sticky with tape from sealing gift bags, clutched zippered pouches crafted with a mother's devotion, each labeled with her grandchildren's names: Oliver, Emma, Liam, Sophia, their innocence a beacon in her heart. Inside were travel-sized sunscreen bottles, colorful keychains screaming Aloha and Grandma loves you in her trembling cursive, each a prayer for a moment of connection under a Hawaiian sky, a dream she'd nurtured for 3 years with $21,763.84 scraped from the marrow of her existence. Every penny was a sacrifice. Canceled cable, forsaken peppermint tea, threadbare house shoes worn until they frayed, late nights tutoring English online, her joints screaming, her eyes burning, each session feeding the mason jar hidden behind the flower, a dream jar that held not just money but her soul's vow to unite her family on the shores where she and her late husband, James, had danced as young lovers, penniless but rich in love. They'd shared a single suitcase in Kauai, split sandwiches to save coins, James draping a bed sheet over his sunburned shoulders like a cape, his mischievous grin lighting up the night, their laughter a melody woven into the waves. Her phone buzzed, a venomous serpent striking in the dark. A text from her son Nathan: "You won't be joining us. My wife prefers to keep it only her family after I paid for the whole vacation, so I froze the travel fund before takeoff." They boarded the plane. Another lashed her heart. The card didn't. "You should understand your place. My wife prefers to keep the vacation just for her family. You've already done your part by paying." The words were a guillotine, severing her from the family she'd built, her heart a battlefield where love and betrayal clashed in a storm of anguish, each syllable a shard of glass piercing her soul. Nathan's texts weren't just a rejection. They were an execution, obliterating the woman who'd cradled him through fevers, who'd kept his Mother's Day cards like sacred relics, each word a tear-soaked vow of devotion that once brought her to her knees. She clutched the second-grade drawing framed on her wall, where she soared as a superhero, Kate billowing captioned, "My mom saves the day," a child's love immortalized in crayon. He'd called her his best friend, brought pink tulips every March, even after fleeing to Arizona's deserts, his visits a lifeline across the miles. But now, he was a stranger, his voice hijacked by Tanya, his wife, who'd been chiseling away at Marilyn's place for years with surgical precision. Tanya's correction stung like slaps in front of the grandchildren. "That's not how we do it, Marilyn." Her tone sharp as a blade, her eyes rolling like storm clouds when Marilyn spoke of her honeymoon, when she and James shared a cramped motel bed, his sunburned grin a beacon in the dark, their laughter echoing over the Kauai waves. Tanya hosted holidays at her mother's house, forgetting to invite Marilyn until the 11th hour, her invitations laced with obligation rather than warmth, a perfunctory nod to a woman she'd already erased. At Thanksgiving, Tanya orchestrated photos, just the kids. She'd chirp, her voice bright as a guillotine. Then just our family unit. Leaving Marilyn on the sidelines, her smile a mask for the ache within, her heart a silent scream. At Christmas, they donned matching red sweaters with white trees. Marilyn's was blue, an outsider in her own story, uninvited to the plan, her presence a footnote in their curated joy. Tanya's smiles were daggers cloaked in sweetness, calling her Nathan's mom, as if she were a stray guest wandered in from the cold, her name a whisper in a house that no longer echoed with her laughter. Yet Marilyn clung to hope, believing the Hawaiian waves would wash away the distance, that the sand would bind them as family, that the fire pit she'd booked for lavender candles in James's memory would reignite their love, a beacon to guide them back to her. But you've already done your part by paying was a death knell, her dream reduced to a transaction, her love a currency spent and discarded, her heart a shipwreck on a shore she'd never reach, abandoned by the son she'd raised to be her hero. The kitchen was a crypt, the dim glow of under-cabinet bulbs casting jagged shadows across counters she'd scrubbed until they gleamed, as if cleanliness could erase the pain that clawed at her soul. Shame slithered in, not with a roar but a whisper, coiling around her heart, the shame of hoping, of believing love could bridge the chasm, of trusting that her sacrifices would earn her a place at their table. She imagined dialing Nathan's number, her voice breaking as she pleaded, "Please, let me come. Don't leave me behind. I'm your mother, your flesh and blood." But the words choked her, drowned by the weight of her sacrifices, each one a stone in the foundation of her dream. She'd canceled cable, forsaken her beloved peppermint tea, worn threadbare house shoes until they frayed, her feet cold against the linoleum. She'd tutored English online, her joints screaming, her eyes burning, each session a battle against exhaustion, feeding the dream jar she hid behind the flower, its glass etched with the weight of her devotion, a silent vow to her family. She'd planned a villa for 9, ordered t-shirts emblazoned "Family is Forever 2023, booked luau tickets, snorkeling lessons, a fire pit for lavender candles to honor James, whose laughter still echoed in her dreams. She'd called the travel agent relentlessly, ensuring soft beds for the kids, flat walkways for Tanya's mother's frail knees, a gluten-free menu for Emma's allergies, even a high chair for Sophia's small frame. She'd pictured her grandson Oliver, his small hand in hers, his voice a melody. "He loved it enough to bring me here when we had nothing. Did Grandpa love the beach too?" She'd whisper. "And he loved it more because he shared it with me, his heart entwined with mine." But Nathan's texts were a tempest, uprooting her dream, leaving her stranded in a sea of betrayal, her heart a tattered sail in a storm she hadn't foreseen, her love a sacrifice offered to a family that turned its back. Marilyn rose, her steps heavy as if wading through quicksand, crossing the creaking floor to her den, where shadows clung like ghosts of her past, memories of James's laughter, Nathan's childhood hugs, a family that once held her at its center. She opened her old laptop, its screen flickering like a dying star, a mirror to her fading hopes. The travel fund account stared back, $21,763.84, every dollar hers, linked to every booking. Villa, flights, excursions, car rentals, even the lays for their airport welcome, each a thread in the tapestry of her dream. She'd set it up alone, trusting her family because she thought trust was her birthright, earned through decades of love. Nights rocking Nathan to sleep, days cheering at his soccer games, years saving for his college fund, her heart a vault of devotion. The cursor pulsed over the freeze button, a guillotine of her own making, poised to sever their entitlement, to reclaim her power. Her heart warred with her resolve. Love screamed to give them another chance, to believe in the son who once drew her as a hero, but betrayal demanded justice, a reckoning for the pain they'd inflicted. She opened a blank document, her fingers trembling as she typed, each name a battle cry against the silence. Carol, whose son hadn't spoken to her since her cancer battle, leaving her to face chemo alone, her bald head a badge of survival, her laughter a defiance of despair. Louise, who carried her late husband's photo to Bible study, whispering his name like a prayer against loneliness, her eyes a map of unspoken grief. Frances, barred from her grandkids' graduations, her love deemed irrelevant by a family that moved on without her, her heart a lighthouse in a storm. Beverly, who'd never stood on a beach, her life a tapestry of sacrifice for a brother with dementia, her dreams buried under the weight of duty, Nora, cloaked in old age's invisibility, her voice a whisper in a world that looked past her, her eyes holding stories no one had bothered to hear. Lucille, a librarian who'd never tasted the ocean's salt, her dreams shelved like forgotten books, her fingers tracing the spines of novels that promised adventure. Denise, who drove Marilyn to the clinic when her ankle twisted, expecting nothing but a smile, her kindness a beacon in the dark. These were the forgotten women, mirrors of Marilyn's own wounds, their stories unwritten but not untold, their hearts beating with the same fierce resilience. She saved the file, returned to the banking app, and clicked freeze. A pop-up flared like a flare in the night. All linked transactions paused. Linked cards disabled. Her breath escaped in a shudder, not of vengeance, but of liberation. A phoenix rising from the ashes of her broken dreams, her wings unfurling in the silence, her soul alight with newfound power. The dream jar sat behind the flower, a relic of her silent devotion, its glass etched with the weight of her sacrifices, each dollar a testament to her love. Every skipped luxury, vitamins, movie rentals, a new coat, had fed it, $5 here, 10 there, growing like a heartbeat in the dark, a pulse of hope against the cold. She turned down lunch invitations, claiming a tight month, worn double socks to save on heat, tutored until dawn's light stung her eyes, her joints aching like the years she'd carried alone since James's death, his absence a wound that never healed. Why? For a memory, a moment where her family would see her, not as a wallet, but as the woman who'd held them together through storms. Nathan's first heartbreak, his college graduation, the birth of his children, each milestone a thread in her heart's tapestry. She'd booked a villa for 9, ordered t-shirts emblazoned "Family is Forever 2023, planned a fire pit for James's memory, imagining them saying words to describe him. Kind, mischievous, loving, his photo glowing on the table, a beacon of their shared past. But Tanya's exclusions had sharpened like a blade. No photos with Marilyn, birthdays at her mother's, her presence reduced to a courtesy nod, her name spoken like an afterthought in a house that no longer echoed with her laughter. Nathan's silence was a deeper wound. He'd gone from her best friend to a shadow who saw her as a means to an end, a bank to fund his wife's vision of family only. The truth crashed like a tidal wave, drowning her illusions. They didn't want her stories, her memories, her heart, just her money. She unpacked her duffel bag, the lavender candle and James's photo trembling in her hands, their weight a reminder of a love that deserved better, a love that had once lit up her world. She envisioned a new journey, one where she was the host, not the ghost, where her presence was celebrated, not erased, where she could stand on a beach and feel the tide embrace her, not reject her, her heart no longer a sacrifice but a beacon of her own worth. Dawn broke, and Marilyn's house was a crypt, her movements those of a specter haunted by betrayal, her heart a battlefield scarred by love's wreckage. She folded blankets twice, straightened frames already perfect, wiped counters that gleamed like mirrors reflecting her pain, each swipe a futile attempt to erase the hurt. An email from the travel agency awaited, a dagger in her inbox. The final itinerary, 8 names, Nathan, Tanya, their 2 kids, Tanya's parents, her sister, her sister's boyfriend. No Marilyn, no mom, no trace of her existence. Her name struck from the script of their paradise as if she'd never existed. She wasn't an oversight. She was deliberately erased, her love a footnote in their curated joy. Tanya called that afternoon, her voice dripping with false cheer, a performance worthy of a stage, each word a polished lie. Everything set money-wise, Marilyn? The final payment hits tomorrow, right? Marilyn's voice quivered, a fragile thread in a storm, her heart clinging to a shred of hope. Should I bring games for the kids? Snacks for the flight? I know Oliver gets motion sick. Tanya's tone turned to steel, sharp and cold, cutting through the pretense like a blade. Marilyn, we've got it handled. Stay home. Rest. Focus on you. The words were a curtain falling, a stage cleared of her presence, her role reduced to a silent benefactor in a play she'd funded but wasn't allowed to join. Marilyn opened her banking app, the travel fund glaring like a judge, unyielding and true. Her name, sole account holder, no cosigners, no shared access, every dollar a testament to her sacrifice. She set the freeze for 8:15 a.m., when they'd strut to the airport gate, smug in their certainty that her money had paved their path to paradise. One last chance, she texted Nathan, her words soft as a prayer, heavy as a plea, each syllable a cry from her breaking heart. Let me know if you need help with the kids' bags or snacks. I have motion sickness bands for Oliver. No reply. The message was read, its silence a final verdict, a gavel striking her heart, shattering the last illusion that she mattered to them. This wasn't a mistake. It was a choice, a deliberate act of entitlement that left her bleeding in the shadows, her love a sacrifice offered to a family that turned its back. At midnight, Marilyn clicked the freeze, the app's confirmation a thunderclap that shook the heavens, a seismic shift in the fabric of her world. All transactions paused. She brewed peppermint tea, its steam curling like a ghost in the dark, a spectral reminder of the warmth she'd once shared with her family. She sat in the chair James called the lookout, staring into the night, the wind wailing against the window, the fridges hum a requiem for her broken dreams. Her heart hardened, not with hate, but with resolve, a stone forged in the fire of betrayal, unyielding and unbreakable, a monument to her reclaimed power. At 8:27 a.m., Nathan's texts flooded in like a desperate tide, each one a plea from a sinking ship. Error at check-in. Check the account. Then, card declined. Mom, what's happening? Voicemails piled up, his voice cracking like glass, raw with panic. Mom, the kids are freaking out. Please call me. Tanya's mother called, her tone venomous, accusing, a serpent's hiss. Marilyn, what have you done? How could you do this to us, to the children? The resort emailed, confirming the cancellation, its words clinical and final, a death certificate for their paradise. Booking terminated due to account freeze. Marilyn stood unmoved, her phone face down, its silence her shield, her sword, her crown, a testament to her strength. She watched their Instagram stories unfold like a cruel play, a tragedy of their own making. Matching straw hats, kids giggling, Nathan's peace sign, Tanya's caption a dagger that pierced her soul, off to paradise, family only. The words cut like shards of glass, each syllable a wound, but she held her ground, her eyes unyielding, her heart a fortress forged in the crucible of their cruelty. At 10:40 a.m. Nathan texted, "We're boarding. Call me." She didn't. They soared into the sky, their plans, villa, car rental, excursions, collapsing like a house of cards in a hurricane, their paradise reduced to a mirage, a dream that crumbled under the weight of their betrayal. Refunds poured in, resort, airline, tours, all hers again, a river of justice flowing back to her account, each dollar a testament to her reclaimed power, a crown she wore with quiet defiance. Nathan's final plea slithered through, a coward's bargain cloaked in excuses, his words a pathetic attempt to barter her pain for their convenience. "We messed up, okay?" Tanya was stressed. "We're in a financial bind. Can you return the deposit? We'll talk when we're back." No apology, just a demand for her blood money, a plea that echoed with the entitlement she'd once mistaken for love. She closed the laptop, sipped coffee from a chipped mug Nathan once used to serve her breakfast in bed when he was 9, the memory a bittersweet sting, and smiled, a smile not of vengeance, but of victory, a queen reclaiming her throne, her crown forged in the fire of her own resilience, her heart no longer a sacrifice but a beacon of her own worth. Marilyn opened her notebook, her pen a sword forged in the crucible of her resolve, each stroke a declaration of her power. She wrote, "The Forgotten Women," each name a battle cry, a beacon in the dark, a testament to the strength of those who'd been cast aside. Carol, abandoned by her children through 5 Christmases of illness, her chemo scars a map of survival, her laughter a defiance of despair, her voice a melody that refused to be silenced. Frances, her wedding ring a ghost of a marriage long dead, her love unreturned yet unyielding, her heart a lighthouse in a storm, guiding her through decades of loneliness. Beverly, sleeping on a cot by her brother's hospital bed, her life a tapestry of sacrifice woven with invisible thread, her dreams buried under the weight of duty, yet her spirit unbroken. Nora, cloaked in old age's invisibility, her voice a whisper in a world that looked past her, her eyes holding stories no one had bothered to hear, stories of a girl who once dreamed of singing on a stage. Lucille, a librarian who'd never tasted the ocean's salt, her dreams shelved like forgotten books, her fingers tracing the spines of novels that promised adventure she'd never claimed, her heart yearning for the horizon. Denise, who drove Marilyn to the clinic when her ankle twisted, expecting nothing but a smile, her kindness a beacon in the dark, a light that had guided Marilyn through her own shadows. Marilyn called each, their voices breaking like dawn through a storm, trembling with disbelief, their hearts opening to a possibility they'd long forgotten. Hawaii? Me? Why? Her answer was a vow, a sacred promise that echoed with the weight of her own rebirth. Because you are seen, because you matter, because your story deserves a stage, a spotlight, a song that the world will hear. She booked a villa for 6 women, 7 days. Her name the sole anchor, a declaration of her power, her presence, her unyielding spirit. No hashtags, no family-only captions, just a table where James's photo, framed in walnut, presided over laughter, tears, and truths, a silent witness to their rebirth, a beacon of the love that had carried her through the darkest nights. They gathered in the villa, a sanctuary perched above the ocean, where palm trees swayed like dancers mourning the sun, and the salt air kissed their skin with a tenderness they'd forgotten. The first night, they sat under hanging lights, the waves whispering through open doors, a chorus of hope. Carol wore a bright scarf, refilling wine glasses, her laughter a rebellion against the silence of her children's absence, her eyes alight with a fire that cancer couldn't extinguish. Frances wept at the ocean's edge, her tears merging with the tide, each drop a release of decades of uncried pain, her hands clutching a shell as if it could hold the love she'd lost. Beverly toasted freedom from cleaning others' messes, her voice rising like a phoenix, her laughter a declaration of her worth, her heart no longer a servant but a queen. Nora penned a postcard to her lonely home, her words a lifeline to the woman she'd forgotten she could be, her fingers trembling with the weight of her own rediscovery. Lucille stood barefoot in the surf, her librarian's hands tracing the waves, her eyes wide as a child's, tasting the salt she'd only read about in faded novels, her dreams no longer shelved but alive, vibrant, free. Denise sang a hymn under her breath, her voice weaving through the palm trees, a melody of grace that bound them all, a thread of kindness that had held them together in the dark. Each night, they lit a candle beside James's photo, whispering wishes they'd never dared voice. I see you. Rest. You're not a burden. Your story matters. You are enough. They shared stories of their youth, Carol's first dance, Frances's wedding vows, Beverly's dreams of travel, Nora's silent songs, Lucille's nights reading by lamplight, Denise's childhood under a sky full of stars. They didn't trade wounds. They bared their strength, each scar a testament to battles won, each laugh a victory over silence, a symphony of resilience that echoed across the ocean. On the final night, they stood on the beach, the moon painting their wrinkles and scars silver, a canvas of resilience, a masterpiece of survival. Marilyn lit the last lavender candle, its flame a beacon of her rebirth, its glow a mirror to the light she'd found within. She looked at the women around her, their hands linked in a circle, their eyes reflecting the stars, and declared, her voice steady as the tide, resonant as a bell, I'm not sad anymore. I'm free. I'm whole. I'm home's he'd shed the weight of a family that didn't see her, that had cast her aside like a forgotten prop, and found one that did, their bond, a tapestry of shared strength, woven with the threads of their unspoken stories, their laughter a rebellion against the silence that had tried to define them. The ocean whispered, let it go, and she did, releasing the weight of false belonging, the endless reaching for approval she'd earned 1,000 times over, the pain of a family that saw her as a wallet with wrinkles. What remained was a villa glowing with laughter, a husband's smile frozen in a photo, a heart no longer begging to be seen but shining with the light of its own truth, a constellation of women who'd chosen each other, their footsteps a rhythm of solidarity, a symphony of survival. 3 days after their return, Nathan's email landed like a coward's arrow, its subject a mockery of reconciliation. Just want to clear the air. The words dripped with false contrition, a pathetic script written by a man who'd forgotten his mother's heart. Maybe we messed up. Tanya was stressed. "We're in a bind financially. Could you return the deposit? We'll talk when we're back." Marilyn read it thrice, each word a hollow echo, a shadow of the love she'd once poured into him. No apology, just excuses. Tanya's stress a flimsy shield, her money the true prize they sought. She saw the Hawaiian villa in her mind's eye, the women's laughter ringing like bells, James's smile glowing in its walnut frame, a beacon of the love she'd reclaimed from the ashes of their betrayal. She closed the email, her silence a fortress, a wall no plea could breach, a testament to her strength. Some debts, respect, gratitude, presence, cannot be bartered with platitudes, cannot be bought with promises of future talks that would never come. She poured iced tea, its coolness a balm against the heat of their cruelty, and gazed at the birdbath James built 20 years ago, its stone weathered but unyielding like her spirit. The wind chimes sang a note as light as memory, a melody of the life she'd shared with James, his mischievous grin, his hand in hers on that Kauai beach, their vows whispered under a sky painted pink and gold, a love that had carried her through the darkest nights. She needed no apology from Nathan or Tanya. She had clarity, a diamond forged in the crucible of their betrayal, a truth that shone brighter than their excuses. She had reclaimed her power, her worth, her story, and no one could take that from her again. Not now, not ever. Marilyn's journey wasn't just about freezing a bank account. It was about thawing her own heart, a resurrection from the ashes of a family that had cast her aside like a forgotten prop in their play. On that Hawaiian beach, her toes buried in warm, forgiving sand, she found her true family, a constellation of women who'd been overlooked but never broken, their hearts beating with the same fierce resilience. Carol taught Beverly to hula, a plumeria tucked behind her ear, their laughter a defiance of the pain that had tried to define them, a rebellion against the silence of their past. Frances shared a tale of a lost bus ride to her wedding rehearsal, her voice trembling with rediscovered joy, her tears a baptism in the ocean's embrace, each drop a release of the love she'd held too long. Nora sang a lullaby, soft as the tide, her notes a bridge to the girl she'd been before the world taught her to be invisible, her voice rising like a phoenix from the ashes of her silence. Lucille stood in the surf, her librarian's hands tracing the waves, her dreams no longer shelved but alive, vibrant, free, her eyes wide with the wonder of a child tasting the sea for the first time. Denise wove stories of her childhood under a sky full of stars, her kindness a thread binding them all, her voice a hymn of grace that echoed through the palm trees, a melody that held them together in the dark. They didn't trade wounds, they bared their strength, each scar a testament to battles won, each laugh a victory over silence, a symphony of resilience that reverberated across the ocean, a song that the world could not ignore. Marilyn learned that love is not a shout. It's a steady hand, a choice to show up, to choose someone even when they're no longer convenient, a vow to see and be seen. She let go of the dream of a family that erased her, that saw her as a wallet with wrinkles, and embraced those who walked her path, their footsteps a rhythm of solidarity, a symphony of survival that echoed in her heart. The ocean whispered, "Let it go," and she did, releasing the weight of false belonging, the endless reaching for approval she'd earned 1,000 times over, the pain of a family that had turned its back on her love. What remained was a villa glowing with laughter, a husband's smile frozen in a photo, a heart no longer begging to be seen but shining with the light of its own truth, a constellation of women who'd chosen each other, their bond a legacy that would outlast the stars. This is the heart of Grandma's Last Goodbye, a movement that roars for every woman who's been erased, overlooked, or told to stay silent in the shadows of others' stories. Marilyn didn't just freeze a bank account. She thawed her soul, building a family from those who saw her worth, who stood with her under a Hawaiian sky, their hands linked in a circle of defiance and love, their laughter a rebellion against the silence that had tried to define them. If you've ever poured your heart into a dream only to be pushed aside, if you've ever been told your place is in the margins yet rose to claim the center of your own story, you belong here. This is Grandma's Last Goodbye, where silence becomes a symphony, where memory becomes a crown, where women like Marilyn rewrite their stories with fire and grace, their voices a thunderclap that shakes the earth. Like, share, and subscribe to Grandma's Last Goodbye to join our tribe of warriors who tell the stories no one else dares. Stories of mothers, grandmothers, and women who turn betrayal into power, who transform pain into purpose, who rise from the ashes to shine brighter than the sun. Because when a grandma speaks, the earth trembles, the heavens listen, and the world is forever changed.